We have another key cut. Welcome to another video from Dr. Lock. We're going to be keying up a Mul-T-Lock 570 or 590 cylinder, whichever one you want to call it. We're going to be keying up one of these to a new combination. We're going to be changing the cam on the back. At the moment it's set to lock and unlock the lock, so if you were to turn the key you could unlock, then you could use your handle. We're going to be changing it so the handle remains fixed and this part here only pulls the latch back. So which means for a common door, people want to go into the actual premises, but they don't want to have to relock it after themselves. So they put their key in, they turn it, and after they pull their key out, the lock should be locked again. So it's a bit messy on my bench at the moment. This is common for locksmiths. What we're going to do first of all is we're going to set the code on this cylinder. Now these cylinders can be extended as well, as you can see here, these two screw holes. You can get adapters for these, which allows you to build the cylinder up as well. Take note, it does have a little brass part there, and there is a bit of a trick to getting these undone. If you get these undone the wrong way, you pretty much have to throw the cylinder away. So very much like a common standard cylinder, you put the key in, you turn it, you use your follower, and you push it through. This is where all the magic happens now. Clear up a little bit of room here. Okay, so here we have our pins. Now these are telescopic pins, which means there's a pin inside of a pin. We have 5 on the outer, 5 on the inner, anti-drill function, and there's a little ball bearing floating around right about here. That one there we'll be putting back afterwards. So that also helps with the added security. Now to recode these, all of which change except for the second one. So we're just going to dump that one. Dump them. And for these I like to do it with tweezers and a keying card, just because there's so little tolerances and they all have to be precise. This is not the type of lock you could run a file over or anything. They will need to be precise. So we start off with a card like this, and then we get our code. And our code for this one is C, Z, and then AD. Now the Z is already there, so we're looking for a C now. Now a lot of these times when they come from factory they have a few pins in them, so we're just going to check to see if any of these are current. So there's a C right there. It can be any one of these ones right here, and that size there is a C. Okay, so that one's correct. The second one's correct. Now we're looking for an A. An A is one of the shortest ones, so I'm just going to check that, and that's an A right there, so that's correct as well. Now then we're moving on to a D, which is the largest cut. There's a D there, and then one more, which is a C. Now if we're lucky we'll have a C here, but this will most likely be a B. Okay, so that's a B. As they come from standard, from factory, they do give you some that you can reuse, and because these pins are so expensive, being hardened or special or stainless, whatever they're made from, it's not cheap. So far we've set the outers, if you can see it there, and you can see those holes going up through the center. So we put our key in now. Now for this to be correct we have to put this little bump stop at the back. A lot of keys, if you look at a normal key, they actually center themselves or align themselves by this shoulder right here. This key is different. It will actually align itself from the tip. So this is not the type of key you want to start using as a screwdriver or anything along those lines. So we're going to push this all the way in now, and we're going to check them. Now any good locksmith is probably looking at this saying one of them's pretty low. That is correct, and that is the way it's meant to be, and I'll show you why. First of all, this one, if you can see the shape of that, that's actually keyed up. It's actually keyed up correctly. So there's a slight raise there. There's no nothing for it to catch onto. But this is the way these pins are in this particular type of lock. Take note, these pins are super hard as well compared to normal brass pins. If you look at a normal brass pin, which I'll just show you here, this type of pin can get worn out very easily, especially the tip of it. These pins here, they're larger, they're stronger, and they provide high security. So okay, so this one here that you're saying is low, that actually has to do with this corresponding floating element. Now this floating element here, when it goes in to the plug, it actually gets pushed up when you turn the key, so it brings this pin up to a level surface. So that pin is actually part of the new security that the older Mul-T-Lock didn't have. That's why they call it Mul-T-Lock Interactive, because it has this interactive floating element inside the key, and it actually moves, if you can see it there, on both sides, identical. It's actually built in, so it's very low here, and when you push it on the other side it lifts it up, and likewise on this side, when it's low you push it back up. So that's part of the actual security of it. Okay, so now we can start working on the inners, so we need to start measuring them as well. So I go through with my card here, and I find this one is, looks like a 5, so I'm not going to use him. Looks like a 3, that's not good for me either, so 3. And I want to see if I can find, okay, so that looks like a 1. It's a 1. So it is important to actually recycle these pins, because they do cost quite a bit. It's a 3. That's not what I'm after. The pinning kit alone is quite expensive. Okay, just putting in the last couple of pins now. So this will be a total of 10 pins. 10 pins on this particular cylinder. And the reason I'm showing you this is because a lot of people think that all locks are kind of the same and you're getting everything the same, and it's not at all like that. When you pay more money for a lock product, generally you get a higher grade of lock, which means it's stronger, more pick resistant, anti-drill features, and the list just goes on and on and on. The old technology, see, I'm just checking the keying on that now. Now I'm quite happy with that, and when it gets lifted up, all 5 are lined up. So now it's got 10 pins at the bottom, it's got 10 pins on the top. We're going to put in our anti-drill ball bearing there as well. That just goes in there, sliding it back in our housing. So just getting back to what I was saying, this system here has been used for many years. I think 1900s it started, 1919 I think, by Yale. They've been using this pin tumbler system for a long time. Over the time people have improved and improved it. They keep adding things to it, like anti-pick function, special pins, different cuts, all sorts of things, special key blades with different grooves. So they keep adding things. So when you compare them, yes, this key here, yeah, it is very old, but it's still in use, one of the most common. And then you compare this key. Now this Mul-T-Lock did have older versions of this type of platform, but this is one of the newer ones. So it's basically just an improvement on an improvement on an improvement to give you this particular product. So when you compare the two products, you're getting a far superior product, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a heavier duty product, which it is, and it will last longer and give you more more security. And when you talk about locks, it's all about security. How much security is it going to give you? Now what I'm just doing now is I'm changing the cam on the back of the lock. Now if you look at these cams, they're different. Most of the time you see them, they've got screw holes on the left and right. These ones have them on the diagonal, and they also have 2 diagonal driving little nipples there. So those nipples go in the back, help you get some force on the actual cam, and they help rotate the lock. So they're a stronger cam once again compared to the other ones, which just have the little push in, which a lot of people are quite familiar with. So I'm going to tighten them up tight. Not tight enough to break my screw, but tight enough so they don't come undone. The screws actually had a little bit of Loctite on them as well, because you don't want these screws coming loose. If this screw comes loose, when you try and remove your key, you'll find that it will get jammed, and that's the time when you've got to kind of put your finger on it and pull it out. So you want tight screws all the time. One more thing to note with this type of lock, when you lubricate, you don't use graphite, you use a particular type of spray, and it's called Mul-T-Lock lubricant, and you spray it with that. It's a bit like a silicone spray, and you just spray it in there and it works quite nicely. Most locks do need a little bit of lubricant, but not much. Just looking at the construction of this, you can see that they've got a pin going down through there, ball bearings to cap the top of the cylinder off. There is also housings that go around this that you can flick up, keep a bit of weather protection. But it is a very nice cylinder, very similar to Mul-T-Lock MT5 or Lockwood MT5, but it is a different animal, different beast altogether. Some of the older multi-locks, yes, they can be picked, but generally speaking, these ones with this new interactive are a lot harder. So they're a high-end product. We sell and install this. These are great for foyer doors, buildings, places where you've got high use, schools, commercial, hotels, you name it. They're also good just on the very small jobs, such as unit front doors. If you had a cylinder like this on your front door, there's no way somebody's going to be able to come up and pick your lock open. And if they're going to try drilling it, they're going to be there for an extremely long time. So it will definitely give you a lot more security. If you have one of these type of standard keys, anybody who's bought a $30 tool off eBay has a bit of a chance of getting into your front door. So that's why if you buy a $100 cylinder, pop it in, you're going to get far better security. The keys are more expensive too. You will pay more for a key like this compared to this. Sometimes you pay up at about $5 to $8 for a key cut. Here you're looking over 20. That's just the nature of the beast. You're getting a far superior product, patented, as you can see there, and floating element. All these things take it into account. This is not just a piece of brass which has been milled into shape. There is features involved in this. Even the plastic little inserts and things, they're all unique to this type of key. As where this is just a piece of brass that's been stamped out, cut into shape and milled, and then you just put your grooves into it. So far superior product, available from drlock.com.au. It's just one of the locks we're building today, so I thought I'd share that with you. If you've got any comments, put them down below. Got any questions, put them down below, and thanks for watching.